During the Governor-General of New Zealand's speech at the Pacific and Judicial Conference in 2014, Sir Jerry Mateparae acknowledged the distinguished guests, judges of the Pacific, and specifically acknowledged Honourable Justice Helen Winkleman, Chief High Court Judge of New Zealand. The theme of the conference was called Equal Access to Justice. Sir Jerry mentions, quote, "For New Zealand's part, I know that our judges and members of the wider justice sector are willing to share their knowledge, experience, and expertise, and are equally willing to learn from others to address these challenges," unquote. Sir Jerry's speech indicated that New Zealand clearly acknowledges the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction, and Dame Sian Elias, former Chief Justice of New Zealand, made mention in her welcome statement, quote, "Substantive equality before the law is fundamental to the rule of law," unquote. Let's look at equality between the people who work in the interest of keeping law and order. If we compare equality between Maori Wardens, who are partners with the New Zealand Police, the evidence indicates systemic racism is still quite prevalent in New Zealand. According to the Aucklander newspaper in 2009, the news article reported that Maori Wardens often worked for free and were paid $1.50 per hour for security work and had to wait months before they received that money. This raised concerns for Kaumātua Des Rātama, who told the Herald News in 2012 that Te Puni-Kokiri, the Māori Development Ministry, is acting legally by controlling the Māori Wardens. The budget set aside in 2012 for Māori Wardens was $1.1 million. Rātama states that taxpayer money earmarked for the Wardens has been used by the ministry to pay for Te Puni-Kokiri's salaries, expenses and accommodation. Te Puni-Kokiri reportedly froze funding to the Māori Warden Association in the past, and Auckland District Council has also been known to hold on to Māori Warden funding. Māori Wardens are then expected to use their own vehicles whilst at work and expected to pay for work expenses. This kind of expectation is quite unacceptable across the board. It's a total violation of human rights. According to Nelson Mail newspaper report in 2009, Māori Wardens were given a 39,000 12-seater van with a police radio and a glove box, which was always to remain full of chocolate fish. That sounded good, right? But the Māori Wardens were expected to share the van with 80 other wardens. Nelson Mail newspaper also stated that Māori Wardens in Nelson had to lease their second van off to Te Puni-Kokiri, which was used for everything from training to community work by the 80 Māori Wardens. We ask, why did they have to lease the van off to Te Puni-Kokiri when Te Puni-Kokiri was receiving the funding for the Māori Wardens? Māori Rangers were contacted by Tai Tukaro Māori Wardens in January 2021, and the Wardens confirmed that Te Puni-Kokiri and District Councils were still violating the human rights of Māori Wardens. We were able to assist the Māori Wardens with a proposal to become autonomous and seek private funding. Māori Wardens discussed this proposal with the New Zealand Prime Minister at Waitangi in February 2021. In stark contrast to Māori Wardens, New Zealand Police are paid very well for the work that they do and are offered financial incentives, are provided vehicles, and the latest in mobile technology. According to the New Zealand Police website, during your 16 weeks training at the Royal New Zealand Police College, you'll be paid an annual salary of $44,980. Total per year, including superannuation and insurance subsidy, is $49,768. The New Zealand Police website also stated that in the first year out of college, you'll get an annual salary of $61,325. Total per year, including superannuation, insurance, subsidies, and PCT payments, was $68,613. You could also earn an additional $6,500 in allowances and overtime. Further pay increases will depend on your role, shift patterns, and promotion. The website also stated that you'll have the latest in mobile technology, and these devices came instilled with specialized police applications. Police salary then increased per year and per performance. Okay, so let's take another look at the Pacific and Judicial Conference that was held in 2014. The lady in the pink dress on the left-hand side is the current Chief Justice of New Zealand, Helen Winkleman. During the conference, New Zealand clearly showed an acknowledgement towards the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction. The theme of the conference was called Equal Access to Justice, and former Chief Justice Dame Sian Elias mentioned in her welcome statement that substantive equality before the law is fundamental to the rule of law. But what does that mean? The definition of substantive is having substance, involving matters of major or practical importance to all concerned, considerable in amount or numbers, real rather than apparent, firm, permanent, enduring, belonging to the substance of a thing, and essential. However, when we compare how the Maori Wardens are treated in comparison to the New Zealand Police, the inequality in New Zealand is still quite apparent. On this company listings, you can see that the New Zealand Police generate 1.1 billion in sales per year, and that is US dollars. The Department of Corrections shows $1 trillion in sales revenue. Now, when you compare those figures to the figures of Maori Wardens and news articles of Maori Wardens, the inequality could not be larger. This Aucklander news article features the wardens getting paid $1.50 per hour, and it took months for the wardens to get paid that. They had to pay for their own travel and parking. This is the Nelson Mail article about the brand new van for Maori Wardens that they had to share amongst 80 other Maori Wardens, and the second van they had to hire from Te Punakoukiri at their own expense. The ill treatment towards Māori in New Zealand is still going on and is rampant. But there is hope. Just like every bad relationship, you are never compelled to stay within the relationship, and you can always leave. The unique thing about this part of the world is that our primary jurisdiction is called Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa. This fact has been documented throughout history and by many civilizations. The other unique thing about New Zealand is that it has no constitution. Therefore, the people of New Zealand are not protected against state abuse. However, the native autonomous authority called Wakamingi o Ngā Hapu actually has a constitution, a protectorate, known as the 1835 He Whakaputanga. Here at the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa Embassy, we celebrate the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction. We celebrate Wakamingi o Ngā Hapu, the 1835 He Whakaputanga, and the 1834 diplomatic trading flag. And we encourage others to join us, because all people born here have rights. Another interesting fact is that only 2 nations in the world have a Declaration of Independence. The first country was the United States of America, and then it was New Zealand. The co-author of the American Declaration of Independence, by the name of Clendon, was also a witness to the tino rangatira who autographed the 1835 He Whakaputanga at Te Tau o Te Rangatira on the field at TAMARIKI in Waitangi. Prior to 1835, trading commenced in the United States of America. Once the 1835 He Whakaputanga was autographed, global trading began here. And the 1834 flag holds diplomatic privileges and the ability to trade within every nation of the world. The New Zealand Union Jack flag has no actual status, and New Zealand also has no free trade agreement, as New Zealand government lost its rights to trade when it removed the constitution in 1986 and effectively made themselves an unlawful entity. According to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948, Article 13, Number 1 states that everyone has the right to freedom of movement and residence within the borders of each state. Section 2 states everyone has the right to leave any country, including his own, and to return to this country. Article 14, Section 1 states that everyone has the right to seek and to enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. The ill treatment of Māori at the hands of the New Zealand government could be defined as being persecution, as we have the highest rates of native peoples incarcerated in the world, and we also have the most prisons per capita in the world. Article 15 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, Section 1 states that everyone has the right to a nationality, and Section 2, no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality nor denied the right to change his nationality. Therefore, because Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa is our primary jurisdiction, we have every right to leave the New Zealand government and enter and declare that we are Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa diplomatic nationals, as our flag has diplomatic status, as well as other privileges. There is a prophecy that states that all things must start here, and that the other Indigenous peoples around the world are waiting for the Māori people to lead the way forward. Tangaroa is our Hokianga ambassador who has proudly travelled by waka across Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa to meet our whānau in Rarotonga, Tonga, Hawaii, Rapa Nui and Samoa. Tangaroa wishes to present a law in accordance to Article 3 of the 1835 He Whakaputanga that will enable people to display the native car plates that he issues without New Zealand police interference. Autonomous native authorities such as Wakamingi o Ngā Hapu and Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa Embassy and Māori Rangers Security Division actually do have the right to operate as peacekeepers, security, traders and issuers of identification cards and native car plates because we display the 1834 trading flag. New Zealand police, however, do not have a free trading jurisdiction. Monica is our Te Waka a Maui ambassador and is currently involved in a Crown Law case that initially evolved from a cultivate and supply of cannabis case in December 2020 when the Christchurch judge had to request the assistance of the Crown Law Office. The case has been adjourned to June the 16th, 2021 in the Christchurch High Court and has evolved into a police racism case in regards to the New Zealand police interference with our cars and native car plates, and the court is now preparing against our claims of jurisdiction. On the 24th of March 2021, the police prosecutor of a completely separate Christchurch court case involving a freedom of speech activist has requested that the freedom of speech activist's case is to be heard on the 16th of June in Christchurch court as well. We ask, why should we have to keep proving our rights in the New Zealand courts when Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction has already been acknowledged by the current Chief Justice, Helen Winkleman? Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa Embassy should not have to waste resources and time in the New Zealand courts when the New Zealand judiciary is fully aware of our status. The constant court cases that we, as Māori, have to endure is another example of us not receiving equal access to justice. According to the 1835 He Whakaputanga Article 3, the hereditary chiefs have the right to discuss, frame and pass laws in accordance with tikanga. Kupapa Suppression Action 2020. Number 1. The definition of a kupapa is a traitor. A kupapa consists of anyone who puts their own selfish interests before their own hapu, other hapu, and people. B. A kupapa consists of anyone who signed off on the sale of the seabed and foreshore, sacred whenua sites, community-owned natural resources. C. A kupapa consists of anyone who harmed tamariki for financial gain via state-funded ventures, whānau for financial gain via state-funded ventures. D. A kupapa consists of anyone who signed off on the use of tēnei poison. E. A kupapa consists of anyone who creates or uses a trust in a harmful manner towards other people. For example, when trust board members fine or punish other hapu members for collecting kai on their own whenua. Example, when trust board members sign off on selling the hapu shared resources. Example, when trust board members collude with district councils and police at the jeopardy of other hapu members. Number 2, any man or woman who commits or performs any of the actions listed in the above sections 1 commits an offence against the wakamingia and all those present, and by contract who consent to this law, shall be labelled a kupapa and be forbidden to have a representative capacity from the day they are adjudged kupapa. A. Basically, anyone who is a proven kupapa will be forbidden to sign or speak on behalf of tangata whenua people ever again. 3. This was written in accordance to Article 3 of the He Whakaputanga o Te Rangatiratanga o Nutireni 1835. It's got the embassy stamps on it, and this was moved at Waitangi on the 28th of October 2020 at Waitangi Marae and Te Tau o Te Rangatira. It was then lodged with Crown Law on the 22nd of January 2021. When we look at the issues that are affecting our people today, most of the troubles could have been prevented if the people in charge made well-informed, intelligent decisions. We have witnessed some very incompetent people acting as representatives for the rest of us. Greed and other selfish incentives have been a major motivator for the kupapa. Many people who have their shared hapu resources in a trust have complained to Māori rangers about greedy trustees who fail in their duty to be kaitiaki to the other hapu members. And this is why we need the Kupapa Suppression Action 2020. Last year, a Te Rotaira Forest Trust member trespassed over 8 hapu whānau landowners from collecting kai on their own whenua. The Taupō Police and the Taupō Judge Mackenzie colluded with the trust member and charged the 8 hapu members in the Taupō court. So Peter helped Kaptenohi and Perera Hallett to lodge a High Court case at the Hamilton courts. But then Judge Mackenzie protested and lied, saying she didn't know that the men were the landowners. As witnesses to the court cases in Taupō, we can confirm that Perera Hallett on many occasions kept reiterating that he was a landowner. So now we have to take this case to the Court of Appeals. All of this could have been avoided if we had had something like the Kupapa Suppression Action 2020 written and implemented years ago. So if you need to use the Kupapa Suppression Action 2020, and if you've identified a problem that is harming the whānau hapu members or papatūānuku, and if that problem was caused by a kupapa, the best way to address the issue is 1. Call a whānau hapu hui at your marae. 2. Put a pānui out at least 3 months in advance so that all whānau hapu members can make arrangements to attend the hui. 3. You need to clearly state why the hui is being called. 4. Allow all hapu members the ability to speak. 5. Only stop someone speaking if they are purposely trying to hijack the hui. 6. Be respectful to the kupapa, especially when you have to inform them that their harmful actions has resulted in them never being able to speak, sign or act on behalf of the hapu collective in the future ever again. Number 7. You can then vote for a trust to be dissolved. If you do this, you need to take the autographs of all of the hapu attendees that agree to do this. 8. You might need to call more than one hui, and remember to do a pānui on social media, local newspaper and public notice boards. Māori Rangers Security Division has a hui notice board on our website, and it's free to post your pānui. Just email me on monica@maorirangersecuritydivision.com or call me on 021 26 320 32. In accordance to the 1835 He Whakaputanga, the Wakaminga o ngā hapu was the governing body. We encourage hapu members to hui regularly, learn about the He Whakaputanga, and for hapu members to identify and resolve the issues affecting your hapu. We especially encourage hapu members to resolve issues from within the hapu. So if the Kupapa Suppression Action 2020 is applied, there would be no need to pay for expensive lawyers and bring outsiders into the hapu. Lawyers are really just an extension of the New Zealand problem causing harm to our people. And if we're serious about merging away from the New Zealand government structures and creating our own structures within the Wakaminga, there needs to be a clear distinction between New Zealand government and those in the Wakaminga. At the moment, we have a 24-hour helpline and we're pretty good at solving problems, but we currently have no funding or resources, so it's hard for us to physically be there. But we can always advise over the phone, which brings me back to the Pacific and Judicial Conference and its theme, equal access to justice. At the moment, Māori Rangers are being targeted by the New Zealand Police, and considering all of the information that is available in regards to the diplomatic privileges of the 1834 flag, the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction being acknowledged by the current Chief Justice Helen Winkleman, our United Nations recognition, our British monarch recognition, our Constitution Protectorate, which is the 1835 He Whakaputanga, we are wondering why the New Zealand Police are still targeting us, confiscating our property and arresting us. Are the New Zealand Police racist, or have they been ordered by another Māori authority to target us? So who is ordering the New Zealand Police to harm us? In December 2020, the Christchurch Police informed me that the New Zealand Foreign Affairs Minister, Nanaia told them that the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa Embassy, the Wakaminga o ngā hapu, our sea passes and native plates were all unauthorised and that she didn't acknowledge us. Not only is that a breach of our rights to diplomatic immunity under Admiralty law and our rights that were recognised as an independent nation by the United Nations, and our inherent customary rights and our trading rights, Nanaia has actually violated the New Zealand legislation. Because Nanaia caused the New Zealand Police, the Christchurch Police, to believe that they had the right to arrest me and take my car. They said my native car plates were false. According to the Policing Act 2008, Section 530, Command and Control, Number 4, says no police employee may, when exercising any power or carrying out any function or duty, act under the direction, command, or control of a Minister of the Crown. Another concerning fact about Nanaia as the Foreign Affairs Minister is that when she was in the Māori Affairs, she voted to sell the seabed and foreshore. This goes against tikanga. Therefore, Nanaia is not a tino rangatira and she should be disqualified from making any further authoritative roles. It's really important to realise that when Nanaia decided to sell the seabed and foreshore, that this allowed oil exploration of our Pacific and high-intensity military sonar that disrupted the natural dolphin and whale sonar, tortured and blew up the dolphins and whales' eardrums, and it killed many dolphins. And we're supposed to be kaitiaki of Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa, and this act was that the selling of the seabed and foreshore it was considered by the United Nations as a horrendous crime against the kaitiaki rights of the people of Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa. And that's why, another reason why I wrote the Kupapa Suppression Action is to prevent these people who have harmed us in the past from jumping on to the Sacred Confederation, the Wakamingi o ngā hapu. There needs to be a clear distinction between those who are in the New Zealand government and those who have chosen to stay separate and safe in the Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa jurisdiction, and to apply the 1835 He Whakaputanga as a protectorate and a constitution, and to trade using the 1834 flag. There needs to be a clear distinction. So the Kupapa Suppression Act is just a way to keep us safe from the same crimes against humanity and crimes against our Indigenous rights from occurring again in the future. The New Zealand Police and the New Zealand Government can only operate with the consent of those who have the Māori mandate. Previously that was Ratana Church, the Kingitanga and Māori Council at Waitangi. For the last 1.5 years, Māori Rangers have been really busy promoting the true information and the true histories of our country. And since Ratana Church and Kingitanga found out about what was really going on, the Ratana Church withdrew its support from the New Zealand government and are pursuing their own Ratana party, which is great. King Te Heitia has been told by the Kingitanga and the elders of Kingitanga that he is forbidden to sign any more contractual agreements with the New Zealand government. Maori Wardens have broken away from Te Puni Kōkiri and have chosen to take an autonomous authority role. And more people have been learning about what's really going on in this country. And because Māori Rangers, we know that the New Zealand Police cannot operate without our consent, and the New Zealand Government cannot operate without our consent. We question why Māori Rangers are still being targeted by the police. One of the possibilities could be that other Māori groups are actually behind the New Zealand Police taking our native car plates and targeting us. At the 28th of October 2020 hui last year in Waitangi, Māori Rangers were approached by a group of people who said that they were wanting to make New Zealand government identity cards similar to ours with the 1834 flag on it, and they also wanted to make native car plates but government edition. And these car plates would feature the 1834 flag as well. So in terms of tikanga, what happens when the New Zealand government agents want to start infiltrating our native autonomous authority? Well, that's easy. According to the 1835 He Whakaputanga, only the tino rangatira can represent the hapu. The tino rangatira are the most honourable and wise. Therefore, a New Zealand government kupapa, or somebody who is not fit for the job, is not allowed to be part of the wakamingia decision making, are activating our inherent customary rights to trade, travel, and conduct our native affairs. Also, in terms of equal access to justice, essential public services such as Te-Moana-Nui-A-Kiwa Embassy and Māori Rangers should receive funding. Instead of there being 10 police cars patrolling our Polynesian suburbs, wouldn't it be better if every Polynesian suburb had a Māori Ranger van or a Māori Warden van? New Zealand Police have really overstepped their mark this time, and with all the information out there, their actions are inexcusable. In order for us to achieve our goal, please share the information so that the people of our country can be protected. For more information, please go to our website www.maorirangersecuritydivision.com.
obligated to the 21 gun salute under King George IV. That's where the handover went into Queen Victoria, all authority from King William IV, sailor boy they call him, commander of chief of the Navy shipyard there. You got two different literacies, the chief of commander and commander of chief, but King William IV, they didn't realise that they're obligated. That's a part of the contract, is that right?
That's right. Morena everybody.
Morena.
Thank you, Kapa.
Thank you very much.